Het is weer vrijdag en dat betekent dat het tijd is voor de leukste talkshow van Tilburg. Dit is TilbuZz.
Ja, welkom beste kijkers thuis. Het is weer vrijdag. Leukste talkshow van de week. Dit is TilbuZz. Met vandaag een hele bijzondere uitzending, hè, Lotte?
Yes, it is, Haiko.
Should we switch already?
We're switching already.
And should we do the introduction again?
Yeah.
Yes, welcome everyone. It's the most fun talk show of Tilburg. This is TilbuZz with a very special edition today, episode today. There's a project going on here, Lotte. Could you briefly explain why we're here and why there's so many people here in the studio with us?
Yeah, there are many people in the studio today. Lovely to see you all. Welcome at TilbuZz. This weekend there is an immersion workshop of YoCoJoin, Youth Community Journalism Initiative. And these are all people from all around Europe to learn and teach us all about their experience in youth journalism.
Youth journalism. So today we're going to learn about why it's so important, why it might be different depending on where you live. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing some personal stories also from our guest at the table. Zsuzsa Kravalik, welcome. You're the project manager of YoCoJoin, right?
I am.
And maybe for the people back at home, youth community journalism is what it stands for, if I'm correct, right?
YoCoJoin stands for Youth Community Journalism, yeah.
And what's the project about and why is it so important?
It started with another project, another European project which was run in Tilburg, finished last year, called Forward. And that was a urban development project in North Tilburg. And Omroep Tilburg was already a partner in that project, and they went in with the idea of T-reporters, like Tilburg reporters. And then while we were doing this project, we realized that this is one of the very nice gems of that project. It is so good in itself, the function of T-reporters, and we will tell, maybe we'll talk about it later, that we thought it's good enough to create a European network around it. And we found other interested organizations in Europe, 6 other organizations, and we said, we want to experiment together how we can make a mechanism out of these T-reporters, how we can train, teach, work together with youngsters to report on their own community.
Yeah, so it started...
And that's YoCoJoin. Yeah,
it started with the T reporters here in Tilburg, and that was a success. And then people explored opportunities to take it to different countries, different cities.
Yeah, we created like YoCoJoin is a 2-year-long project. Yeah. And we are 3/4 through it. Now it's really like we did the experimentation, we did the piloting in Tilburg, in Ljubljana, in Dublin, in Malta, all over Europe. And now we have another branch of people here, and we want to share what we've done. Yeah,
because today is part of the immersive workshop, if I'm correct. What is the immersive workshop in the project? Lotte, maybe you can elaborate?
Well, yeah, as you said, the immersive workshop is a moment for us to share our experiences in these testing, training, the youth, the new young journalists. And they all arrived here yesterday, so it's a 3-day workshop. And yeah, it's about why is local journalism so important now I'm saying it wrong. Why is local journalism important for democracy? Mm-hmm. Why is it important to involve youth within it? We're discovering that with each other and have group discussions on it. And we also got inspired today by the students of the School of Journalism from Fontis to share their experience and opinions with it.
Yeah, so it's almost like an exchange where you share experience and learn from each other and see where things happen and what different facilities, for example, Fontis has with the journalism.
And it's also an opportunity for the participants to create their own action plan on their own projects that they're doing back home. Yeah. So at the end of the 3-day workshop, they leave with a plan.
Yeah, it's like when you drop stone into the water and it creates new waves. This is how we imagined it with YoCoJoin, that there was the two reporter, you throw it into the ocean, and there's the first wave is YoCoJoin, and then now this immersive workshop within YoCoJoin, and then they will bring it home and create their own so action plan how to do it.
It's like a rippling effect, and the best ideas hopefully spread throughout Europe, and every country that participates in this can learn from that.
Hope so.
In some way. Just very briefly before we go to the next topic, why is youth journalism so important? If you have to summarize it, and then we'll hopefully have some more time to go into the details in a bit.
If I'm looking at from like European perspective, people start to get less and less interested in politics. They start to get more and more closed into their own bubbles, media bubbles, and it's also AI does it to us. It closes us into our own circles. We understand each other from a smile, but we are not able to listen to different opinions. Yeah. And I think it's very, very important for young people to restart and relearn how to listen to each other, how to listen and also accommodate diverse opinions on, I don't know, it's very easy. Where shall we put down the bus stop on the street, in front of my house or in front of...
We all have a saying in what happens around us, and to engage with local.
And I think it's very, very important for young people to learn how to do that, how to
express yourself,
express themselves. I mean, you have a lot of experience because you trained young people from Tilburg.
Well, maybe it's nice to hear from someone who's been through that process in his own way. Haris, thank you for being here at the show today. You're from Bosnia, if I'm correct?
Yes.
And you've been in, the profession of journalism for a while also, right?
Of course, more than 10 years now.
Yeah, so 10 years. So how did that start? And what, did you have, for example, a personal motivation in going out there and asking questions?
Well, of course, I think that each journalist has to be a curious person. If you are not, it's going to be a struggle to do journalism. So it's often said that we ask even too much, and I can see that like in my everyday life, I love asking questions, but that's really a huge advantage if you want to become a journalist. And also, like throughout these 2 days so far, we have 1 day left. We've asked many questions about how can we engage young people in what we do. For example, I produce YouTube shows that aim at young people, but then, once I applied and got selected for this program, I was like, but do I actually include them in the production process? Or do I include them enough? Because if I'm producing a show for them, for example, I still don't host them too often, and that was like one of the conclusions that I came up with. If it's a show for them, let me have more younger guests. But we really, we've made a huge progress. And like the way we designed the studio, we are aiming at young people, so it doesn't have big LED screens. It's more like a cozy corner so that they can relate to it. The way I talk is more like, okay, so what do you think about it? It's not something you can hear like on TV or news. So we had adopted in many areas, but now what we are lacking is really involving them more in the production process. And I've learned so much already and have so many ideas on what I'm going to do once I'm back home. But I'm also looking forward for the next phase of this process where we're going to get even more tools on how we do this.
Yeah. So if I get that correctly, by making it recognizable, comfortable, that's a way of engaging young people.
One of the ways, so you have to be visually appealing to them, because what I often say is that, if you don't like something on TV, you're not going to get the remote immediately and switch it. Like, you may get a coffee, you may do some ironing, but if you are watching something on, for example, Instagram, with one swipe of your thumb, you have tons and tons of options. And my competition is cute cat videos, it's the latest calls from the football match. So like, and I'm trying to explain Brexit, for example, you know, so we compete with a lot. So visual treatment is super important. So that's why we also include a lot of animations. So if I'm talking about, I don't know, Russian aggression against Ukraine, let me show them a map, what's actually going on, how does it look like. So we do a lot of animations, we design the studio setup, aiming at young people, and also the way I talk, the way I script. Yeah. It's very conversational. We are trying to avoid using big words, big terms, or if we have to use big words, then we really explain them like, okay, this is an EU policy, but what actually policy means. Yeah. So we really don't take their knowledge for granted. We start from zero. That's why the show is called AJB, which is an acronym for Al Jazeera Balkan Start. So start here with us. It lasts 7 to 8 minutes, which is also important because, like, you know, we are not really used to watching more than that. Yeah, long attention spans or something of exactly. Past, and even sometimes when I say 7 minutes, they're like, oh, that's too long. I'm like, you know, I cannot make it shorter.
And you're already saying language, visuals, treatment, how you present it, those are things that you change for youngsters, but how do you select your topics?
Well, we select the topics. We want to see what's overlooked in the news. For example, our aim is to break down complicated topics into a way you can understand them. So we unfortunately know that there was a war in Syria with the Assad regime and everything they did to their own people. But if I ask you, do you know who is fighting whom, who controls which region? That's not something everybody would know. So we are giving you 7 minutes primer on what's going on in Syria, what's going on in Yemen, what's going on in Gaza, and everything that Israel has done to them. So that's what we do. So what we need to be better at is asking younger people what they want to hear from us. We periodically ask them like, hey, which topic would you like us to cover? But I think we need to do that more often, and we need to give more platform to young people to tell us what they want to hear from us. That's something that after this training I would like to improve. To really involve them, engage them, and give them also a platform to share their ideas and ask their questions. And have them as guests, because each show we include experts on certain topics, but you know, I think what we as media need to do is involve more young experts on certain topics, because you know, we get comfortable with certain guests. I'm sure you have that too. If you know that somebody is a good speaker, it's very easy to invite them again because you know that they will deliver. And giving somebody new a chance, it's also a bit risky, especially if it's live program, because you know, you don't know if they are really good for television. But we have to do that more often, and we have to like give space to more young experts on certain topics to talk to young generations. I mean, sure, having a guest on the show more often because you know the person can deliver, that's one thing. But maybe also the authenticity and the true story of someone who's just new in journalism, that can also resonate maybe with a lot of people, surprisingly. 100% right, and it happened to me a few times that, you know, I was amongst the first one to have somebody on the show, and then like my colleagues started inviting them more and more. And that's really a huge compliment that we as a production team were able to find somebody who later on was really like picked up by many media outlets. But I think we have to do it even more. Well, it sounds like you've had a lot of experience on this topic, and I'm curious to hear more on the Bosnian perspective and how you think journalism happens in Bosnia. But we have a bit of a clip of how we do TV reporting here in Tilburg, I believe. Yeah,
maybe I can give some context, because it's kind of connecting to what you're saying, what you want to take back to Bosnia, what you take out from these workshops, because a long time ago, a few years ago, Omroep Tilburg started with TV reporters, and I think by then they were really trained on how to report, how to present, how to ask questions, but not really on what would you like to research yet. So that wasn't really a part of that training, I think. So now we're going to look at a clip from TV reporters, a compilation of what they did, but it's focused on a training on how to present.
Let's have a look.
They're so good.
De meeste bewoners eens dat eerst getoetst moet worden wat de behoeftes zijn van de bewoners.
Wat wij eigenlijk doen is freestyle voetballen, maar ook theatrale dingen.
Wat die ervaringen zijn, heb ik nog geen idee over. Maar laten we eerst maar even de raadzaal zoeken. Wat betekent het voor jou dat deze jonge vrouwen hier vanavond in de raadzaal hun verhaal mogen doen?
Nou, ik ben ontzettend ontroerd door de verhalen, maar vooral om te zien hoe ze elkaar hebben gevonden, hoe ze in openheid hun verhalen hebben gedeeld.
Ik ben Tigo van Omroep Tilburg en wij zijn vandaag weer in Tilburg-Noord bij wijkcentrum De Symfonie, waar een groepje moeders ingehuldigd wordt als POVO-ambassadeur. Wij hebben een drone, dat is mokervet.
Goede sfeer ook. Ik ben ook heel blij om natuurlijk de jongeren te zien dat ze ook voor mij komen. Dat waardeer ik echt oprecht.
We zijn tekeningen gaan maken die associaties hebben met sisterhood, met women empowerment, gewoon de kracht van vrouwen.
Ik ben met de landen Egypte, Bahrein, België, Frankrijk, Tjaad in gesprek gegaan over problemen in hun landen en in Nederland.
Oké, who run the world, weet je wel, let's go. Gewoon. Laten ze maar allemaal die gemeenteraadsverkiezingen meedoen over 4 jaar, zeg maar.
Dat ouders zelf initiatief nemen om in de ouderraad te komen.
Beste dames en heren, leuk dat jullie erbij waren vandaag in de Eipelaar bij de drukbezochte informatiemarkt Stockhasselt-Vlashof. Vandaag was een hele mooie dag die ging over 4 belangrijke onderwerpen. Armoede, woningen, onderwijs en kinderopvang. Ik heb er zeker van genoten, ik hoop jullie ook. Tot de volgende keer. Later.
It's so inspiring to see young people so energized on these topics, and really, there's so much talent in them as well, right?
Yeah.
You can tell that some really present and report as like they're naturals.
Yeah, it is. They are, and the reports you saw here, they come from Forward, right?
Yeah, from Forward, from North Tilburg.
Yeah.
And I think how we turned from Forward to YoCoJoin to this project was also that if we want young people to be interested in what's going around them, it's again like democracy, that they should be interested in the local affairs, then maybe the good way is to engage them as reporters. Mm-hmm. So if they are not consuming news, they are not listening to news, but maybe if you start helping them to create or support them to create the news, maybe they will be more like them and their friends also to start listening to news.
Give them agency in journalism, and then also I can imagine that gives a whole different perspective on journalism.
Yeah.
Like once you've been participating or contributing to an item, for example, then you might look at social media content differently. Is it also something you recognize, maybe, Haris?
Yeah, of course. And I think that for young people, like when we say that they're not so much into news, like they have to be into politics, because nobody has the comfort of not following the politics, especially these days. And we have some saying in Bosnian, I'm not sure if I'm going to translate it correctly, but something like, if you don't decide on politics, politics is going to decide on you. Like politicians are going to make policies about the young people, but if they are not informed about them, they're not going to be able to influence them, you know, to remove politicians that they don't like, to elect the ones that they like. So we do need to find new ways to engage them so that they actually do get engaged in politics. And I think what you said is extremely important. Like if they don't consume what we, a bit older, give them, let them produce content for themselves. And of course, we are here as mentors, as people with a little bit of more experience to navigate them through that journey, but let them be the leaders of their own change.
Yeah, I'm really inspired by seeing young people with a microphone and being out there and really gathering insights and information. And here in Tilburg North, I think we've seen great examples, but like, is that something, like for example in Hungary, do you see similar initiatives also where really the youth gets this opportunity to go out into the world, be curious, ask questions, and have a platform?
Not really. I mean, there are initiatives, there are small, I would say there are no initiatives where like a whole ecosystem of different players helps them. So there might be some, like one journalist who starts a small school, or like one, also we have a Hungarian partner in YoCoJoin. So they also try, yeah, they also try, and they were also doing great stuff, and they got very good success in with the trainings. So they really managed to get very bright, very good students to work with them. But I think what is very special here in Tilburg is that you've got the municipality, you've got Omroep Tilburg, you've got the police, you've got the youth workers. There's a whole ecosystem around the youngsters, and everyone is looking how to lift them up. Yeah. And I think that's very, very special.
And I agree that I'm quite proud of like hearing that that's special about Tilburg as the city that I live in myself. But do you think that's required for youth journalism to exist, or are there also different ways? I mean, if you buy a cell phone and a microphone and like you can create your own content these days. How is it, like, for example?
You can, but it comes with threats, because to be able to create the content, you also need to know how to do research. You also need to have access to credible sources. It's harder as a citizen journalism to ask a ministry to share some information with you. It's much easier when you are a part of an official media outlet. So I would say yes, it's good, but it's not good enough. Because that can easily be misused. We live in an era of influencers. You have news influencers, but it's hard to know what their agendas are, who are they sponsored by, and it's this fight between having a lot of views, which we are all pressured by, and doing good quality journalism, because sometimes they don't go hand in hand, unfortunately. It's really something that we'll have to come up with solutions. And I'm afraid that this race for a lot of views also brings a lot of scandalous content, a lot of clickbait, and a lot of content that I wouldn't consider good quality content. Yeah. So yeah, both yes and no, I would say.
Yeah. So maybe it's easy to start, but to become a good and skilled journalist, you need that support ecosystem.
And I think the word you use is very important. What is a community journalism and one is a citizen journalism? That's like two very different topics, but you created Lotte, a great training within YoCoJoin at the very, very beginning, when we started with ethics, like a training among ourselves, that when the 7 different media organizations came together, that we would be on the same platform. We understand each other well if we have the same basis.
Yeah.
Is that also Press Tilburg?
Yeah, it's well, Press Tilburg is the YoCoJoin project, but we got here in Tilburg we called it Press because we thought, okay, how to recruit youngsters? Maybe YoCoJoin doesn't really connect with youngsters in here. In Tilburg. So that's why we gave it the name Press Tilburg. And actually what you were saying, the missing piece, when you go on the streets by your own, buy a microphone with a cell phone, they miss the training. And one of the participants in Tilburg said that the thing that he learned during this training was doing research. And he got aware of that journalists do research. So it's I don't know how to say this in English.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can just have a look about some footage, some content of what the project actually meant here in Tilburg.
Vandaag zijn wij van Press in de Kruikenstad, Tilburg.
94% van de jongeren vertrouwt dit nieuws. Vinden de studenten van Yonder in Tilburg het nieuws belangrijk?
Niet per se. Het is wel belangrijk dat iedereen gewoon meekrijgt wat er gebeurt. Trekt mij gewoon niet, zeg maar. Dan staat het op en denk van ja, leuk, maar...
Als je goed kijkt, zie je ze overal. Bij stoplichten, lantaarnpalen en verkeersborden. Snus. Maar wat is snus nou eigenlijk?
Dit is snus. Sommige mensen noemen het ook wel snoes. Maar wij, in deze explainer, houden het gewoon lekker op snus. Maar weten de mensen op straat wel wat snus is?
Nee. Snoes? Nee, geen idee.
Snus zijn nicotinezakjes. In deze nicotinezakjes zit witte poeder wat smaakstoffen en nicotine bevat. Maar hoe gebruik je ze eigenlijk?
Geen idee.
Je stopt ze gewoon zo, hop, onder de lip. Press is eigenlijk, ja, we maken lokaal nieuws rondom Tilburg. En eigenlijk van alles wat met Tilburg of bepaalde maatschappelijke thema's die spelen nu in deze wereld, kaarten wij aan.
Voor mij is press vooral mezelf uit mijn comfortzone laten gaan en ook uit mijn comfortzone laten trekken door jullie van press zelf. Jeugd die betrokken wordt bij nieuws, bij lokaal nieuws.
Ik wist niet wat ik te verwachten had hier, dus ik vond het eigenlijk wel spannend toen ik press hoorde. Maar press is eigenlijk een leuke organisatie, behandelen thema's zoals snus en andere dingen.
Ik denk het echt kunnen uiten van problemen en onderwerpen die je interessant vindt op jouw manier. Ik denk dat dat ook voor ons geldt, dat als wij iets heel interessant vinden en we willen dat echt aan de wereld laten zien, dat dat ook echt kan. En ook echt op onze manier, er wordt heel erg geluisterd naar onze inbreng. Dus ik denk dat dat vooral het belang is, echt de creatieve vrijheid en mensen informeren.
Nice. So that were some press
They
kits here.
Really well.
Yeah, they explained
what
really
it is
well.
about.
But what I could tell is like the content was quite dynamic, right? You had some shots on the street, some vox pops, and then also some explainer elements. So it was like a dynamic way of doing journalism.
Yeah, and we really started with them with also talking about the ethics of journalism and quickly went on by doing it yourself. So go out, go on the street, talk to people. Yeah. Because then you feel what it is like to ask questions. So that's how they started, and we're challenging them to make bigger things. And my dream is that once they can host
this.
They can,
they can host TilbuZz.
So at the end of the year, they will be sitting over there.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. No, but I think it's a really nice example of how it's going on here in Tilburg. Do you see similar examples in different countries that are also part of YoCoJoin, or does every country has its unique angle to it?
Every country has its unique angle, yeah. Like Ireland, Dublin, they are more written journalism. So they're publishing stories, and that's a written one.
Side Street Malta is mostly online.
Yeah, they're online.
And in every country they have their own target group. That is also there are a lot of differences in that.
Yeah.
So the approach on how to work and how to train them is sometimes different.
And is it also up to the youth to decide on what type of content or like what style they want to have in their journalistic production?
Yeah, it's a combination, I guess. Yeah. So they have agency on how and what they want to learn. But also Omroep Tilburg and the other partners, they all have their own expertise. So yeah, let's say they are also here to learn from experts, but the experts are also there to learn from the youth. So it's an exchange, I guess.
We have Ivana here somewhere, and they have in Brussels also. They are also partner in YoCoJoin, and they had university students as young reporters. And Brussels is like a very international place. Yeah. And they had students from Georgia, from Syria, from like really very, I would say, very touching stories as well. Like these young journalists could, with the help of YoCoJoin, they could explain basically their life stories, how they came to Europe, what discrimination they went through. So very, very deep personal stories as well.
It's a beautiful way of also self-development and being vulnerable and growing as a professional and even as a person as a whole, of course. Yeah,
and also like Ivana said it yesterday, I guess, during one of the workshops, she said giving the youth the confidence in not experiencing they have a voice because they already have a voice, but to give them experience in using it and let other people listen to it. So that's, I think, a very nice summary of one of the goals of YoCoJoin.
And of course, Haris has had his own experience in Bosnia, which was also very, well, it's like 10 years is of course a lot of experience, but also there's a uniqueness, of course, to it. Thanks for your contribution before we forget, of course.
Yeah, we ran out of time.
And okay, so it's really also about, like, it almost sounds like a breakthrough, like going through resistance, like, and having your voice be heard. Is like I can imagine that's a really nice effect of having that, like, as a project, and that's one of the outcomes.
Oh yeah, this is one of the best projects ever.
But was that also what you had in mind, for example, when you started the project? Is that something you learn as you go, and you're like surprised by the outcome?
I was one of the person who wrote the project, like the application form itself, and I was really hoping for something similar. Like, I knew about T-reporters, and I was really trying to find good partners, similar type of organizations, and I think the project is very flexible in a way that it allows the partners to follow their own path, because every partner has to find their own way how to do that. Časoris from Ljubljana, Slovenia, who are actually hosting our pair immersion workshops. So while we are sitting here in Tilburg, they are sitting over there in Ljubljana having the same or a similar workshop over there as well. Another 10, 11 people. So they are working with elementary school children, 11, 12 years old. A little bit different, a little bit, the topics are different, but
there's freedom for every partner to find their own way, and that the project allows for that. And that's why it also gives such a diverse, like,
diversity, but at the same time, like, the cores of, like, journalistic, the fundamentals, the values are the same.
Yeah, well, we've heard stories of Brussels, of Hungary, of Bosnia, but Magdalena, welcome. We're very curious, like, how does this go in North Macedonia?
Well, in Macedonia, young people aren't that into journalism. So me as a student, I always say to my colleagues, please be in love with the job, because it's a very nice job. Once you get out and you find stories everywhere on the street, you will, I don't know, you will feel like you are full of life. But people don't want to be journalists, and they have a very bad painted picture in their brain of what's been before. So they don't really like to work as a journalist. I don't know.
Why was that picture so bad then?
Maybe before, when the Yugoslavia thing was happening, and when Macedonia went out of Yugoslavia, and many political media outlets then came to surface, and now every media in Macedonia is biased by political parties. So we know, like, when we are watching TV, I know which channel is by one political party and which channel is by the opposition.
Yeah.
So that's a big problem.
Also, our partner Časoris, Sonja from Časoris, always tells that the public view of journalists is always the bad guy. Mm-hmm. So if you watch films or whatever, they are never the good guys who
they're always the villains.
Yeah, they're always the villains.
Because they expose lies, they expose corruption.
Yeah. They're looking for the truth everywhere, and people don't like that.
Yeah, but it's one of the most important things you can do as a professional these days, right? Where we live in a time where there's a lot of data, a lot of information, and what is true, what is false. It's never been this important.
And a lot of political parties are also going for that you're not going to be able to trust anyone, because that's the aim. So if you shouldn't trust anyone, and that's not good. You should trust your mayor, you should trust the political system, you should trust the democratic system.
Yeah.
And I think in this sense also journalists have a very important role of connecting your local experience to what's going on at a municipal level or like a city level.
Yeah.
And they should be the ones who build up trust. And engaging youth, I think it's a good way of this trust building.
And Magdalena, you've been taking part in YoCoJoin yourself, and what do you get from the project so far, and how do you take that back to North Macedonia?
I have many ideas, and I feel very heard, and I'm very glad that people also share like my ideas, my thoughts, my view of the whole journalist life. And also it's very nice to see that we need to have young people in journalism because they are the future. Myself also, I'm 21, so the future is in our hands. And if the media outlets don't listen to us and they don't incorporate us in their work, how are we going to be the future politicians, future leaders, future journalists? So yeah.
Many ideas and many inspirations.
Yeah, it's very nice. Today we were with the students of the journalist school, and they'll have fresh ideas, they'll have new ideas. So it's very nice to see that what's happening in Tilburg, that they are inspiring young people to take part in that. We need to have that in Macedonia also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be curious, like, will there be a reunion in a few years, for example? Like all these ideas that now go home and then people start working on those ideas in their own countries. Will there be such a thing? Or is this maybe an idea that we might work on after this show today?
I think so.
I believe we still have a compilation of all sorts of different initiatives. Is it true that we...
No, it's not really a compilation of all the initiatives, but it's more like a summary. It's YoCoJoin in numbers, actually. So YoCoJoin till now, what we achieved. That's the video about.
I would be very curious to have a look. So that gives an impression of the project. I do think the numbers, if this project will continue, they can only get like much higher and spread throughout also other countries that might have been joining this time around. We've heard a lot of positive things about the project, and something like I'm curious for is, are there also some difficulties or some challenges you run into in working internationally?
You had not the international one, but local ones.
Yeah. Local ones. In the beginning, it's like 1.5 years ago when we wanted to start the training and started recruiting youngsters. We focused on youngsters who wanted to do this in their free time, in their own time. And that was really hard to keep them engaged, to get together every week, because we wanted to work with them every week, to do training and work with them. But it was hard to keep them engaged, so we tried a lot of things, but yeah, I don't know what it is, maybe also because of COVID and lockdown situation, that they wanted to
do different things or were busy.
Yeah, or be at home after school. They were tired, and they, so that was quite difficult. And also because it is something that you do in your spare time. So it's not a school assignment, it's not your job, it is something in between. And yeah, we were looking for solutions, but then we chose to collaborate with Yonder. Before it was ROC. ROC. And to implement it in their curriculum, to make it a project within school. So that they would have time and space and also more guidance within school for the project. And that helped us to get youngsters involved and engaged. And now they also want to work on this in their spare time.
Yeah.
So it's the other way around.
It's like a tipping point that you might have reached. That.
Yeah, but it's in other countries with our partners. They didn't have the same difficulties, I guess. Some of them had, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think
it's a local difficulty.
Not with the training, but because it started with a training period and then followed with a mentoring period when they had to start to produce their own entries, like videos or articles. And I think this long-term commitment to anything, like one specific topic, it was everywhere difficult.
Yeah, and also, how do you recruit youngsters that are not aware of the of journalism and the importance of journalism? So that was also a difficulty for me. Like how I had the feeling that you had to do something on the forehand before recruiting, because if I don't know what journalism is, then why would I apply?
Yeah, maybe if you like the idea of going on the streets with a microphone, it's not necessary, but for other youngsters, it might be like this first step, like understanding, oh yes, that's the role of journalism in society. That's why it's an important role.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm still looking for the answers, actually.
Yeah, looking for the answers, but I think looking for answers never stops in journalism,
no, that's right?
No, well, we're almost reaching the end of today's show, actually, already. So maybe it's good to have a final round of like wishes or dreams with the YoCoJoin as a project. Magdalena, like what if YoCoJoin keeps on developing? Like, what's the dream that it could achieve, you think?
Oh, for me, the dream is they come to the Balkans, especially in my country. And they have this workshop, so I hope that young people would be inspired to take part of journalism, to study, because this year in my country, on the journalist program, only 5 people applied.
Oh.
So it's a crisis, and we need more people to love journalism, because I love the feeling when you get to the bottom of the truth, when you debunk fake news. So I think that people would like that.
So it is to go to the Balkans with these types of projects and engaging more and more people in that. Yeah. And Zsuzsa, for you, like what is your dream with YoCoJoin? Like
with YoCoJoin?
Yeah. Or have you already achieved a dream? That could also be possible. I don't know.
I think yes, YoCoJoin as a project, as like me as a project manager, to me it's a success. Obviously, it would be nice if it somehow became an initiative, a real initiative, which somehow a network where the organizations can somehow keep asking questions from each other, because we come together every second week and discuss. Online. But it's very good, because sometimes Lois from Dublin has a question, like, okay, but how did you do that? So there's always some questions which you can raise and you can discuss, and I think it would be nice somehow to maintain this.
Maintain the network, stay in touch with your peers, keep learning, keep growing as a network.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and Lotte, maybe last up.
Well, yesterday I felt really proud because the press kits from this year, so the youngsters who are in YoCoJoin, they presented their work and how they experience it for all these people, and they did so well. So yesterday, one of my dreams were achieved.
Yeah, beautiful. And is there anything else for the rest of this workshop happening this weekend, or was today the final day?
We'll be joining a workshop with Omroep Brabant after this show, so the program isn't over yet, and tomorrow we'll have another inspiration.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like an exciting workshop. It's great to have been able to learn a bit from the project. Thanks to my guests, Magdalena,
Haris, for having me.
Zsuzsa and Lotte, of course, thank you for co-hosting today.
Thank you, Haiko.
This has been TilbuZz. I hope everyone enjoyed today, the journalism special. If you want to learn more about YoCoJoin, I'm sure you can find it on the internet. And LinkedIn as well. And I would say this was TilbuZz, and hope to see you next week.